Since COVID-19 Alert Level 4, Police has recorded 4,452 breaches of CDM or Health Act. 423 of these were in the past 24 hours. 477 prosecutions, 3,844 warnings, 131 youth referrals. We've conducted 2,989 reassurance checks at essential facilities from the period 20 to 22 April. Over the same period, 3,144 patrols were completed. We have recorded more than 55,000 reports from the public about breaches, 1,535 of those in the last 24 hours. As we move towards Alert Level 3, it's important to note that police will continue to enforce the Level 4 restrictions until 11:59 p.m. on Monday night. The sacrifices we have all made have made a real difference, and we must not get complacent. Right now we are still at Alert Level 4, and that means we all need to stay home and save lives. For the next 5 days, we all need to continue sticking to the rules. That means staying at home, only undertaking essential travel and keeping it local. Ahead of Anzac weekend, I want to remind everyone that the Alert Level 4 restrictions still stand. This is not a time for complacency. Over the long weekend, you need to continue to stay in your bubble and stay local. Don't travel to your batch, stay in your neighbourhood. Similar to what has happened over Easter, police will be highly visible in communities over Anzac weekend, and this will include operating road checkpoints, making sure people are safe and complying with the COVID-19 Alert Level 4 restrictions. Any travel over Anzac weekend should be for essential purposes only. If you are planning to travel to your beach or visit friends or family, you need to change your plans and stay home. Officers will be visible in our communities and on the roads, including around popular holiday spots and on the arterial roads to them, to make sure people are aware of the requirement that everyone in New Zealand needs to stay in their current place of residence while Level 4 restrictions are in place. Everyone needs to play their part this Anzac weekend, stick to the rules and stay home within their bubble and keep themselves and their communities safe. Under Alert Level 3, police will continue to be highly visible in our communities and on our roads to maintain public safety, security and order. We'll continue to take an education-first approach and urge all New Zealanders to familiarise themselves with the updated restrictions ahead of the change, which effectively come into force on Tuesday. Please recognise there will be a period of adjustment, just as there was with Alert Level 4. However, where we need to take enforcement action, either through warnings or arrests, we will do so for any serious or persistent breaches. While Alert Level 3 is likely to see more traffic and activity on the roads, expect police to be visible and question whether travel is permitted under the new alert level. Reassurance checks will continue to be an important part of our work, and we will have a particular focus on large gatherings. No matter what alert level we are in, police's focus will remain on supporting New Zealanders and making sure they are safe, protected and informed. This afternoon we've issued a release outlining our approach to COVID-19 checkpoints, which have been introduced by some communities where they felt they were particularly at risk. We understand that some small and isolated communities feel they have a particular vulnerability to COVID-19. Police is committed to ensuring our communities are safe and feel safe, but we do not encourage community checkpoints. Where communities have determined to undertake checkpoints to prevent the spread of COVID-19, police is working with those communities and other agencies to ensure checkpoints are safe and not preventing lawful use of the road. Working in partnership with the local authority, the local civil defence emergency manager, local iwi, community groups and police, we will assess whether checkpoints will persist or if there are other solutions. If COVID-19 checkpoints for vulnerable communities are to persist for the overall safety and well-being of a community, they will be operated by district police alongside community members. We will be conducting those in a safe manner according to police operational guidelines and practices. We'll be guided by the relevant alert level status as set out in the government's COVID-19 response. We will not restrict access for people moving through for legitimate purposes. We recognise that community efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19 are motivated in the interests of the wider community. However, police must protect people's fundamental right to freedom of movement around their region for legitimate purposes. We'll continue to work with those communities and local agencies in Alert Level 3 and 4 to understand their concerns and needs, and we do not envisage a need for COVID-19 checkpoints to operate at Alert Level 2. Crime trends. Over the course of the Alert Level 4 lockdown, we've seen a decrease in crime across areas such as road policing, theft, burglary and assaults. In comparison to a similar period last year, frontline staff have seen a 57% decrease in road policing activity, a 42% fall in theft and burglary reports and a 26% drop in assaults. This is likely due to a number of factors, such as highly visible police presence in communities across the country, lower traffic volumes, and the fact suspicious behaviour will stand out more with fewer people around. For the first few days of the Alert Level 4 restrictions, there was a 24% rise in family harm-related events. However, the numbers stabilised to similar levels to last year by now. This is an area where we have been focusing on prioritising, and we do urge anyone who seeks safety from a family harm situation to call 111. Over the last 4 weeks, calls for mental health or attempted suicide-related incidents have remained steady, with no significant spike or decline. We have completed tens of thousands of high-visibility reassurance checks and patrols across the country in combination with day-to-day police work. At this time, we are encouraging everyone to be vigilant as they carry out their essential activities, and if they see anything suspicious, to report it to police.
In the past 3 weeks, there have been more than 1,700 calls to Need to Talk mental health line, and approximately 17% of callers to the mental health lines are showing severe distress. People are worried about moving out of Level 4 and anxious about new arrivals into the country affecting their communities. Last Saturday, the 18th of April, nearly 5,300 calls were managed by the National Telehealth Service for remote medical consultations, compared to 798 on the same day last year. The Ministry of Social Development continues to process unprecedented levels of applications, calls, appointments and online traffic. In the past month, just under 500,000 applications for wage and leave subsidies have been received. More than 400,000 of these have been approved, supporting 1.6 million people and paying more than $10 billion. Since Alert Level 4 restrictions began, Civil Defence Emergency Management groups have made more than 18,000 outreach telephone calls to vulnerable groups. As noted by the Prime Minister earlier, they've also worked with community groups, distributing tens of thousands of food parcels to those in need. Yesterday's $30 million announcement by the government will give further civil defence emergency management groups and local authorities the flexibility to provide more help to those that need it. I'd personally like to recognise the efforts of mayors, civil defence emergency management group controllers and officials, welfare agencies, NGOs, volunteers, council staff and everyone else who has had a hand in making these vital frontline support arrangements happen. It's been a real team effort. Through Air to Whānau, MSD have processed payments for 30 groups totalling over $750,000. The groups have ranged from iwi organisations to small local groups who have reached out to isolated community members. Pacifica Futures partner agencies report that they have provided over 7,497 families, which is over 40,000 individuals, with family support packages, which includes household items, food and petrol vouchers. More than 40,000 New Zealanders over the age of 70 have been contacted as part of an MSD coordinated community outreach targeting older people living alone. 95 people over 100 years have been contacted, and around 6,000 have been contacted aged over 90, just to give you an idea of the quantum. More than 1,000 rough sleepers have been put up in motels and connected to social services. And the government's temporary accommodation service has also helped over 400 people into temporary accommodation. Migrant workers in previously heavy tourism areas are a group that we're watching closely, given that they're not entitled to government benefits. They're receiving food, accommodation support and other support from their local Civil Defence Emergency Management Group. As of the 19th of April, the National Crisis Management Centre has approved around 2,000 travel requests on compassionate grounds. The majority of the approvals were for repatriation around the country of people who had finished their period of mandatory isolation after arriving back into New Zealand. All travellers entering New Zealand since the 10th of April have been required to either go into managed isolation in a government-provided facility, that is a hotel, or if they have COVID-19 symptoms, to go into a quarantine facility, which is a separate hotel. They must stay there for at least 14 days. This will prevent any further unmanaged COVID-19 infection coming into New Zealand. There are currently 2,307 people in managed isolation and 104 people in quarantine. Since the 26th of March, 42,901 foreign nationals have departed New Zealand. Of those, 27,427 people departed on commercial flights and 15,474 departed on charter flights. A charter flight to France departed New Zealand on the evening of the 21st of April. 5 chartered flights from New Zealand to the UK and 1 to Thailand have been approved for travel between the 24th of April and the 2nd of May, which will cater for approximately 2,000 people leaving the country. There may be up to 6 repatriation flights into New Zealand between now and the 30th of April, carrying a combined total of approximately 1,200 people. Repatriation flights from the 22nd to the 30th of April are scheduled from Fiji, USA, Tonga, Bangladesh via Singapore, Samoa, Rarotonga, India, with a flight from Thailand yet to be confirmed. More than 1,250 expressions of interest were received from New Zealanders in India seeking repatriation. The first flight is expected to leave New Delhi on the 24th of April, arriving at Christchurch on the 27th of April at 2300 hours, 11 o'clock at night. In Auckland, there are 11 managed isolation hotels, expanding to 12 by the 25th of April, and 1 quarantine hotel. There are also hotels on standby when and if needed for them in Christchurch and in Wellington. The majority of flights are landing in Auckland, though Christchurch will take passengers from the 27th of April, and Wellington is preparing to take passengers should that be needed. The process that has been implemented in Auckland will be replicated if flights land in those other locations. I'd like to finish by touching on the state of national emergency. On Tuesday, the Minister of Civil Defence extended the state of national emergency to support the COVID-19 response for the 4th time. The initial declaration was made on March 25th, and the 7-day declaration can be extended as many times as necessary. It does not change the COVID-19 alert level. As we prepare to move to level 3 next Tuesday, it's important that we continue to have access to the powers that are activated through the state of national emergency to provide the help to us to maintain that level of success that we have seen to date in making progress towards stopping COVID-19 spreading in our communities. The powers activated by the state of national emergency enable critical work to be carried out during this time, including managing roads, traffic, public places, providing first aid, food, shelter, and accommodation. The use of these powers during COVID-19 has included authorising local councils to restrict vehicle access to roads or streets to support social distancing, directing freedom campers to relocate, requisitioning a car park for COVID-19 testing, stopping people from lighting outdoor fires to reduce the risk of fire-related emergencies, and allowing necessary maintenance to happen at a wastewater treatment plant. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to all 5 million of you. Everybody in New Zealand has made tremendous sacrifices to save lives and to stop the spread of COVID-19, and your sacrifice is paying off. While we're going down to level 3, and that will be a relief to many, the restrictions are still stringent, and for very good reason. We're not out of the woods by any measure. But if you're struggling, for whatever reason, there is help available, so please do reach out.